Since the mid-1930s, we've seen a federal government that's been expanding steadily, inexorably, dangerously. Today we saw a rather stunning example of the kind of federal overreach that has been a concern to many people who believe in federalism, who believe and understand that our most fundamental liberties are protected only when we split up government power along a horizontal axis within the federal government between the legislative, executive, and judicial branches, but also along a vertical axis between the federal government and state governments. We heard this stunning and very alarming argument by the Solicitor General just a few minutes ago in the Supreme Court. His argument was to the effect that there is virtually no such thing as coercion of a state when Congress exercises its spending power, that regardless of how much money Congress puts on the table, regardless of how much money Congress puts at stake and says you can either have this money, which we have taxed away from your citizens, or you cannot. And the dividing line between whether you get it or not is if you implement each and every minute rule that we give you in doing this. Now, South Dakota v. Dole was a case in which the Supreme Court called that kind of thing coercion. And yet, President Obama's Solicitor General today could not come up with a single example, actual or hypothetical, that he believed could even come up to that standard of coercion. If ever there was coercion, this is it. If ever there was coercion in federal law, the Medicaid expansion provisions of the Affordable Care Act rise to that standard, and we heard support from that from the Supreme Court today. In the last few days, we've heard a lot of discussion about this and about the individual mandate. I see a lot of support within the court for the fact that Congress has overreached its bounds both within the individual mandate and in the sense that Congress has overreached its spending clause authority with the Medicaid expansion provisions. Regardless of where the court comes down, I think it's important for liberty-loving people throughout America to recognize that their freedoms are at stake. Whenever government expands, especially the federal government, it does so at the expense of individual liberty. That's why we're here today. That's why the American people are demanding something better.